Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. There we are. Come on in, y'all. It is time for another episode of Coach to Coach. And tonight we have with us none other than my girl, y'all, all the way in Ohio. So invite your friends right now and share, and share some more, y'all, as I share with everybody everywhere. And invite your friends, y'all. Invite your friends and tune in because it's going to be hot in here tonight. Okay, it's gonna be hot, but it's gonna be a good hot. So come on in. Let me put this in all of our groups that we have, and thank you to those who allow me to share in the groups. But come on in, y'all. And as I bring her in, I'm going to read her bio. She sent me the entire thing, y'all, but we're gonna bring her in a minute. And so our guest tonight is Melissa Suttles, y'all. She's a speaker, an author, a dynamic spirit that uses the Bible to lead women, teach women how to use their gifts and talents to assist in the ministry and helping other women. And she is a member of the Christian Worship Center, where she has been a member for the last 17 years. She holds many positions within her church, which have included secretary, worship team leader, youth pastor, children's ministry, and women's ministry coordinator. She was ordained by the Christian Worship Center in 2009, where she found her call and passion to help other women become the true mother God has intended them to be. She's a speaker, author, and y'all, she's also a HERS life coach, professional life coach. She's also a business owner. She owns Refine Life Coaching, LLC, Refine Publishing, and she also has another business that I'm going to let her talk about as she come on into the room. So let's welcome none other than my girl, Coach Melissa Suttles. Hey, ma'am.
How are you?
I'm good. Hey. I see our people are in the room. Man, I'm telling you, you got so much stuff going on, which is good stuff. And yes. I love it. And I want everybody to know why I decided to bring you on and nobody else. And it's because people really don't know that you were technically my first Coach to Coach interviewee, but it was before we had all the fancy schmancy stuff.
Yes.
And so, and if anybody follow me on Instagram, you will see it over there. And so I was like, nah, she gets a do-over because I want her to have the fancy schmancy stuff. And so come on in the room and tell them a little bit more about yourself. I know I missed something with your Refine stuff. I know I missed something. I got the publishing, I got the life coaching, but there's something else.
Oh, goodness. I'll have to probably start talking and then I'll remember. I think I'll remember here too. I mean, like you said, there's just so much stuff going on. It's, some of my friends, I talk to them and they're like, well, what are you doing this month? And I'm like, I don't know, just whatever. Yes. So I, as you had said, my intro, I am an ordained minister. I have Mothers of Israel Ministries. So that's a ministry I've had for several years. And then I have the Refined Life Coaching, which I started under your program. And I did the Refined Publishing. So I do have a publishing company to where I publish authors. And goodness, I have a few side hustles that I do, just to kind of make some extra cash, some fun things.
A few. You said a few. I can name about 4 right now. But.
Yeah. And then I do have a full-time job, so so it's always interesting here else because I'm always doing something. So. It's pretty awesome.
She is, y'all. She's always busy doing something. Well, I don't like to say busy, productive.
Exactly.
She's always productive. She's always doing something. And it's so funny. And I think that's what makes us best friends, because everybody thinks I'm a busy bee, but she's a busy bee and she's zooming across the country more than I'm zooming across the country because I'm doing it for, leisure. She's doing it for work.
Yeah.
But it's so funny how all of this came about and how we got connected. And
Yep.
I always tell people that it's such an interesting story. But we, at the end of the day, we knew it was a God thing, because we're still connected. And
Yes.
and she and I actually did an anthology together with some other people, and we
Yes.
both. That's how we both became first time authors, was
Yes.
through an anthology, and we had met at a women's conference that really challenged our faith.
Mm-hmm.
Challenged our faith as women in God.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Right.
Oh, oh my gosh. It challenged our faith as women in God. And when we met down there, we just said, we'll stay connected, and we
Mm-hmm.
stayed connected. And I had no idea. Either one of us had any idea
Yes.
what God was going to do.
Yes.
And before I dive into that story, can you tell everybody, because her life coaching is really unique. And can you tell them what makes your approach to life coaching different from everybody else's?
Oh, I mean, that's always the interesting question because, like we talked earlier, it kind of changes. But for me and what my life coaching does is that I think why it's so unique is that a lot of the clients that I have, I can relate to them, like really like one-on-one. A lot of what they have been through and dealt with, I have in my past, whether it's through going through a divorce or, being a single parent, and just kind of, especially lately dealing with a lot of people that feel alone. And so I can relate to that a lot. And I think that's what makes my coaching program more unique than anybody else's is a lot of the things that when I talk to my clients is that, we always hear about, people gravitate to you, God calls people to people. And I connect with those people. I connect with people that have been through similar situations, and it's it's nice to be able to do that because you can relate more. So
Yep. And inside of that, while we're on the life coaching, um, and so everybody that doesn't know us get to see the face of
uh-huh.
the founding student, the first. And this is where I want people to get so much encouragement from
Mhm.
this, because when my life coaching academy started, I only had one student.
Yeah.
And she was it.
Mhm.
And it wasn't even a complete program. It wasn't a complete program, but God
No.
sent her, and she said, "This looks exactly like I want." And bit
Mhm.
by bit,
Yep.
she purchased the program piece by piece,
Mhm.
and kept me on my toes until I had completed the program. And
Yeah.
so, if y'all want to know where my push came from for the whole life coaching academy, she's it. God sent her, and she was my only student at the
Mhm.
time. And sometimes people get discouraged when they have something and they don't have a big crowd, and they
Mhm.
don't have a big turnout. And I didn't even have, like I said, I didn't have a complete nothing. I had a 1 week module, and she was like, "Let's do it. I got it. Let's go." And she did.
Ah,
And
yes.
she was my first founding student. She was the
Mhm.
founding student and my first and only student when the Life Coaching Academy kicked off, when it was in its, as I call it, its raggedy stage.
Yeah.
Uh, it was raggedy, but
Ah,
excuse me, but it did what it needed to do. It did
exactly.
what it needed to
Sure
do,
did.
and you set the precedence for that. And so I wanted you to kind of to tell people a little bit about it, because when I say that it really was a module,
Mhm.
people think I'm lying because of how it looks now.
Mhm.
But it was
Right.
raggedy, y'all.
Yeah.
And guess what? I didn't have like any of those little sale funnels and all that type of stuff. She got the module via email.
I still have it. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Okay.
I fully believe 100% that when God wants you to do something, he's always going to make a way. So, it's funny that you said that, because I was just thinking about this earlier today. At the same time I was going through the coaching program, I was actually doing my master's, going through the master's program. So I had reached out, and several years ago, I had just really felt the call to kind of be to be some type of a coach. But it just, at that point in time in my life, it was really difficult. It just wasn't reasonable. The programs that I had checked into were, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And it just wasn't what I was really like looking for. And then it was so funny, because we had always stayed connected. Like you said, we always stayed connected one way. And whether it was like messaging each other on, Facebook, and just, kind of touching base, or if there was an event going on somewhere and we both could go, we would both show up. And, I always joke, like, it was just an instant connection. And so I felt really comfortable and I know there was a few times I had reached out to you and I'm like, hey, I just need some guidance. What do you think about this? Or, what do you do with this? And you had posted on Facebook or somewhere, like on social media, like, if I was to start a life coaching academy, would anybody be interested? And I'm like, I know I was the first one that commented, because I'm like, she just posted this. Oh my gosh. Like, let me see what this is about. And I got really excited, because I just knew instantly, like, okay, like, this is my opportunity. And we had some conversations, and you explained to me, is like, look, this thing is starting out. I'm like, that's fine. I have a lot of experience with kind of creating programs, because I do that in my job. And you're like, okay, well, I'm going to email it to you, and you let me know what to do, or let me know what you think. And so I, got the first week and started going through it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be so much easier if it was online. And so I'm like, hey, have you tried this platform? Have you tried this platform? So I remember we tried a couple platforms out, and it's just started flowing. So I would finish the week, like, I would get my whole week's program done, and then I would like be messaging her like a couple days later, okay, I'm ready for next week's. And she was like, slow down. She kept telling me, slow down, girl. And I'm like, I know, I just want to hurry up. I was so excited, because I just wanted to hurry up and get it done. Because it was just like, it was everything that I was wanting, and it was what I needed, at that time. So, I went through the program and finished it. And not too long after that, I finished my master's too. So that was an experience, because I my life coaching stuff here, my school stuff here on my desk, and I would be switching back and forth, and it looked like a hot mess, but I got through it.
We actually both got through it, because I was like, oh my gosh. Because listen, and me and her, we talk like this all the time. So it's no offense, and it's no offense to anybody that's watching. Okay. This is just how me and her talk, because we're like really, really sisters. And I was like, okay, God, I said, this gotta be right. I said, cause this white girl, she know other white people. Yeah. And when white people put something out there, and if it ain't right, they gonna let their white friends know, do not take this stuff. And I said, oh my gosh. And so when she finished it, the first one, and she was like, all right, I'm ready for the next week. And I was like, what? I need the feedback, because I was like, God, please don't let this white lady just tell me this stuff is raggedy.
Oh my goodness. Oh, love it.
And she said, oh my gosh. She said, oh my gosh. She said, this is exactly what I've been looking for. This is what I prayed for. She's like, I'm ready for the next. I said, okay, well, whoa, slow down. Let me get the next week together, and I'll email it to you. And then that's when we started looking into the platforms. And at that time, it was Blackboard. And if anybody knows anything about Blackboard, if you took college courses, that's what they use, Blackboard. And at that time, and I know it was God, at that time, Blackboard allowed you, if you had a course, to use their platform for free. And for I don't know how many years, the Life Coaching Academy was on Blackboard for free. for free. And it wasn't until after the pandemic when they was like, okay, now you got to pay these $50,000 that these universities pay. And I was like, yeah, it's time to get off, switch, shift. But it really was a God thing. And then when she graduated from that, soon after that, she launched her life coaching. So she was one of the first Earth girls, one of the first life coaches to launch her life coaching business on Facebook. And then after that, I found out she had a ministry. Found out she had a ministry. Which
I forgot about that. Oh my
even
goodness.
more connected us.
And so,
and so before we get into the ministry, tell people what services you have, because y'all, like she said, she doesn't just have the Refined Life Coaching. Now she has Refined Publishing, which again, me and her, again, shenanigans, inbox shenanigans and everything. And she's like, girl, I'm about to start this publishing company. What's the thing? What can you do this? Can you ever do this? And of course, I'm always willing to help somebody. And I know that was just the next step, because again, it's like we're of one mind. And I was waiting for that, because she's like, man, I want to publish books. And I was like, well, come on, let's do it. And so she has Refined Publishing as well. And so what other services do you offer? Because you don't just do life coaching. You just don't do publishing. You wear a gazillion hats like I do. So what other services do you offer?
Oh my goodness. So we have the publishing. So I do the publishing and the editing. And so I just published a book for a first-time author just recently. So she should be watching. So hey girl. I just did that, and I published my own like prayer journal. So I have that's out there. So I'm working now on offering a couple of classes, that I have in my hip pocket that I've been holding on to. So there's, like you said, there's just so much going on, and along with the life coaching and the ministry and just kind of everything that,
she's a Pampered Chef consultant. She's what is the jewelry that she got?
Bloom. J. Bloom.
J. Bloom, you got something else too. You had something else.
Yeah.
There you go. The Scentsy. All of these things. And so y'all, that's why me and her are like, we can really mesh, because we got like thousands of different hustles. All right. We're hustlers of different hustles that we have and side gigs that we have. But what is it that everything that you encompass, what is it that excites you the most about all of this stuff?
Everything that I have going on. I think what excites me the most is that what excites me the most is that I've made it. I know to many people, and we've had this discussion before, it's like everything that you've been through in your life, when God lays things upon your heart to do, sometimes we're unsure. I mean, that's our normal, like, that's because we're human, we're so unsure. And I've always wanted to be to where God guides me, that I just kind of follow. And all of these things that, God's guided me in and pointed me into a direction, the life coaching, the publishing, all of this stuff. It's like God has always just made a way, and that I've accomplished every single thing that I've set out to do. And that I think what excites me the most is that I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. To somebody else, it may look like a hot mess, but I like hot messes. I mean, the chaos. I mean, and I don't mean like chaos, like bad chaos, but there's good chaos too. And we've talked about this before, is that I work better under pressure. I work better when there's chaos. I work better when, because I know I know that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And so all of the stuff that's going on and, and that I'm dealing with, and, where all of the projects I have going on, it just lets me know that I'm where I'm supposed to be at right now.
And it's like, you need that pressure. And that's what I tell people. It's like, if you give me a whole week and I don't procrastinate, I don't. Right. I work a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, but that day before the deadline, that's when boom, I take off. I got to feel that pressure. And then there's this exhilaration that comes with it, because you're going to finish it on time. And then once it's done, then you're like, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it's sort of like, and I've never been on drugs, y'all, okay? But it's sort of like you're chasing this high, and it's like once it's done, then you're like, oh man, now what else? So it's like the next thing and the next thing. But it's all from God, though. It's not that you're just sitting around doing stuff. It's from God. Now I want to get into what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that's where like my refined life coaching, that's where refined came from, is that exactly, is that, we're refined in fire. And I've always, I don't want to say I've been intrigued by fire, because that kind of sounds weird, but I've been intrigued by the spiritual fire. And so I've always just been intrigued by that, and how that works and operates. But that's where like refined life coaching came from. That's where refined publishing, that's where it originated from, is being right in the middle of the fire, being right in the middle of the heat where everything's going on. So go
ahead. And on top of that, there was a couple of things, and when I tell y'all, we can get into some stuff, me and Melissa can get into some things. But what I will say that I admire is, after all of the life coaching and everything, and I was like, man, I got to do these workshops, because that's what you do next is the workshops. And I was like, I'm kind of done here in California, kind of burnt out. The people here are like, you know what I mean? And so I was like, man, where can I go next? Where can I do one? And Melissa was like, I'll host one, in Ohio. So again, the first. So Ohio was the first state that we took it to when we took it outside of California, and she hosted it. And when I tell y'all, when I got there, first of all, it was cold. It was snow. We didn't care.
We had to reschedule, remember?
We had to reschedule it.
Because it was so cold. It was like, the weather was horrible, but
the weather was crazy. And so we ended up rescheduling it. But then when we got there, it was amazing. It kicked off. It was really, 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 really great, because from there, and y'all have to watch how these connections work, because from there, it was before that, but we'll get back to it. But from there, somebody else saw that I had did it in another state, and then I ended up doing it in Atlanta. Somebody called me down to Atlanta to do it in Atlanta. And so we went around the world, again, the first. And so this is why when people support, and people take this the wrong way, when I say I support those who support me, it don't mean I don't support other people, but it means I'm going to always first and foremost support those who supported me, because you was there when I didn't have no money. I didn't have no backdrops.
I was like, that's okay. Just come stay at my house. And you did.
She was like, come stay at my house. I have no money. Y'all hear me? There was no money for like hotels and all of this, hoopla stuff that you saw other life coaches doing. Didn't have any of that. I didn't have any of that. But I mean, God used her to catapult this thing, and it didn't matter. And when I got there, it was so crazy, because the ladies there, first, let's laugh about this, because when I got there, I was the only Black thing there, first and foremost.
Oh my gosh. There's been plenty of times we've done things and I've been the only white one.
And she was the only white girl. And so what was so funny is when I got there, one of the ladies that was there, she's like, oh my gosh, it's like Oprah is here. And I was like, oh my God. So it was really amazing. They were treating me like I was Oprah, y'all. They were treating me like I was Oprah, and we had such a good time. And then I did a pop-up book signing because my book had came out. And so she allowed me to do that. Now we'll rewind. Tell us about your ministry, because a lot of people, they see that you are a licensed minister and pastor. I'm just putting in the atmosphere. And they only see you at your church. But a lot of people do not know that you have a ministry called Mothers of Israel.
Yep. Yeah, that's that's kind of I might get a little emotional for that, but gosh, I've been doing that ministry probably 17 years, I think. I was going through the real heat of the battle in my life. Just a lot of, things. And they were good. I don't want to say they were good things. They didn't seem like good things at the time, but now that, I look back on it, God had a plan. And I can't be more grateful for that. But I know, like, being a single mom, I struggled so bad. Like most of my story, but I struggled. Emotionally, mentally, physically, everything. I felt like I was failing. And I always, in my heart of hearts, is like, it shouldn't be like this. Single moms need help. And going through kind of, all the things that I had went through, the way society is, everybody always thought that, being a single mom, that, you're trying to take advantage of things. And it's like, that's not it at all. I really had just got to the point to where I just became I just became really independent. If I couldn't, I would figure it out. And so I just had got such a heart for single moms that God just laid upon my heart to start this ministry. And it pretty much, it started several years ago. And it's, kind of, you'll understand the connection here in a second, but it started several years ago because I was sitting in church and my pastor preached a sermon about prayer. And I had been in church all my life, and I didn't know how to pray. I mean, I was like in my early 20s and I didn't know how to pray. I always joke and say, every time, I was always asked to pray, they would say, can you pray? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I close my eyes and bow my head, and they're like, no, out loud. And I'm like, I can't do it out loud. Like I was so, oh my gosh, I was so embarrassed and ashamed. And so he preached this sermon about prayer. And, at that particular time in my life, I knew I needed a move of God. I knew that I needed something huge to happen. And so I went up to the altar, and I went up to the altar for several weeks in a row, because I was like, I am not leaving until I know for sure 100%, a shadow of a doubt, that God is in my life, and that, God's going to take care of, God's going to help me handle what was going on. And so out of that kind of developed, just this big, like, huge study for me on prayer and what prayer was and how to pray and what to do and what not to do. And so I kind of took that, to kind of sit, I don't want to say to the next level, but I use that in my ministry, is that I use that to kind of share with other women on how to pray. Whether you're a single mom or you're a mom that has kids and all your kids are grown and they're out of the house, it's like, I just wasn't satisfied. And I just wasn't satisfied with just the prayer. God, Lord, just help me take care of this. I wasn't satisfied. When I prayed, I wanted to be heard. I wanted God to see me. And I know everybody has an opinion about that. But I felt like at that particular time in my life that God didn't hear me and God didn't see me. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to do whatever I have to do. So out of that kind of birthed the Mothers of Israel Ministries, and I focused on helping single moms, kind of like in similar situations I was in. And I've been doing that ministry for, gosh, like I said, a long time. Longer. I started doing that ministry before I ever got ordained. So, that's kind of always been my, where I started and, where God led me to.
Right. And which is so interesting, because I'm always telling people, when God calls you, some half the time when he calls you right there when you're in that wilderness season of your life, and he calls you when there are no titles. And that's why I try to tell people I didn't have a title when God initially called me to ministry. There was none. I had no idea. I didn't even understand the voice that, that was telling me things and and encouragement and pushing me. But I like that you share that, because there are so many people who are sitting around and they honestly don't think that God hears them and that God sees them because they don't have titles. And I'm always telling people, title or not, when God calls you, launch.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Launch, go. Everything else that you need, he'll make sure you get it along the way. And here we go. We're gonna put the spiritual in it because again, God is my CEO. Just like the 10 lepers, they were healed as they went. They weren't healed until they went. You know what I mean? They were healed as they went. And so when God is calling you, sometimes you just gotta go. You just gotta get out there and you gotta go, and don't worry about the rest. The rest will come. And so when I found out that she had this ministry, of course, y'all know me being me, I was like, all right, life coach, minister, and it's like, we're gonna lean on this, because that has to come to the forefront as well, especially when you're a Christian life coach. We can't be Christian life coaches and we leave the Christian part out. And so she said, well, I'm having a conference. And she said she's having a conference. And I'm telling y'all have to understand that when God says go, you go, no matter who's there, no matter who's not. And she's like, but I'm warning you, and she asked me to come speak at the conference. Again, we don't got no money. Okay. We don't have $0. Okay. We don't have $0. I was using bill money to pay for an airline ticket. Y'all, this was before people start paying me to come places. I'm using bill money to pay for an airline ticket because she asked me to come and speak. And I said, I'm going to be there. And she says, well, I want to warn you. She's like, it's not going to be a lot of people. She said, it won't be a lot of people. She said, I don't really get a lot of support in this. There's not a lot of people. And I was like, it don't matter. 2 people, 3 people, 1 person. If it's just me and you ask me to come speak. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to speak. And I go and I speak and I meet her bishop. I meet her bishop, wonderful, love Bishop Jim, love him. And we had such a good time. We really, really did. And it was in that moment when I went there. It wasn't just for the speaking part, but it was also another divine connection, because while I was there for her, I met Kathy. Another one of our Hertz girls and professional life coaches. And I ended up meeting Kathy there. And Melissa said, hey, she'll probably be a good person for this program and everything. And then Kathy ended up being part of the second graduating class, which had 2, which had 2 people. Because it was Melissa and Pastor Sauls for the first class. And then it was Vicky, who's on here, was Vicky and Kathy and Tamika, Dr. Stanford Daniels. It was 3 for the second class. And so God began to intertwine us. He began to intertwine us with ministry and coaching, but it was just also for the empowerment as well. It was the support system that we began to knit together. And that's when God said, okay, it's time for the Hertz girls. Now you got to do the Hertz girl thing. You got to make the Hertz girl thing a thing. And I said, okay, well, let me do the Hertz girl thing a thing. And again, first one. And so we went through that. And a lot of people, and I'm not going to say it, and I'm not going to announce nothing. I'll let you do that when it's time for you to announce it. But a lot of people don't know your backstory. A lot of people don't know, and I'm not going to tell it if you don't want to tell it. But she has a phenomenal testimony with her backstory, and God has brought her full circle. And I'm looking at your Christmas tree, and that's why I got all sentimental real fast. I haven't heard you announce nothing, so I'm not either. But God has brought full circle from a place. But I can say this, that she was a single mom, she was divorced, and that was another thing we had in common is divorce. Let me make this plain. We did not form a trauma bond. We didn't sit around and talk about, oh, my ex did this to me. Well, let me try to one up you because my ex did this to
me.
Right. We never even talked about that type of stuff. And the only time we really even talked about divorce is when I wrote my book, basically. Right. And that's it. But God had brought us together, and we didn't know that about one another. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the ministry. I'm glad that you kept going. And I'm glad that even when it seemed like it wasn't a lot of support that was there, you kept going. Y'all, I'm telling you, when I went to her conference, I'm telling you, it wasn't a big crowd, but the people who were there, baby, they bought books, and she did the thing up. Okay. She had the food there. She had her banner up, the whole nine. And that is what excited me. That is what excited me, because I'm like, she's in this thing for real. Yep. She's in this thing for real. And you did not care that it wasn't a whole bunch of people. You were like, well, come on, let's just do this. And we did. And that is why I was like, God, somebody I'm connected to that's really about, as we say, about this life for real. Yeah. Yep. So I want to get into that part, that what has been the biggest challenge, especially being a female in business. And we always talk about the African American female, but for you being a female in the area where you are, and being a business owner and being in ministry, it's a little rough. It's a little rough.
Yep. Yeah. And I think, I don't want to say I think, but I spent so much time just kind of, just thinking I wasn't worthy. I was just, thinking that, I wasn't smart enough, that I didn't have the tools and the resources. And, you were talking earlier is when God calls you, God calls you. Like it will, I'm not saying it'll eat at you, but God will deal with you and deal with you and deal with you until you accept the calling. That was a big struggle, because, like you said, is that, a lot of, a lot of the difficulties and things that you deal with, and just, being, kind of in, women, like, women in ministry, it's, people have their opinions, but this is always my response, is that you may not, like somebody may have a problem because I have a ministry and I'm a woman, but that doesn't mean that God's not going to use me. I don't have to be, in front of tens and thousands of people. We always hear, you always hear about the stories, like God will go back after the one. I just want to go after the one. If it's just one person, I want to go after one. That one person can make a huge difference. And so, a lot of the struggle is, that just like everybody else deals with, I have had friends. I'm telling you, I have had friends that I thought were my best friends, and I've walked in on them having a conversation about how to kick me out of the church. I've walked in on people, people, going to my pastor or going to other people, and it's like, she shouldn't be doing this and she shouldn't be doing that. And it's like, it's not about that. It's not about, who should get to do it, whatever. It's like, whatever God calls you to do. If God called me to, be a preacher or a pastor of a church, tomorrow, God's going to provide, not me. You know what I'm saying? Not me. And a lot of that was, just listening to the struggle, just the struggle that I have was just, I let people get in my head. I
Yep.
let and I allowed that, what people said, what they thought, how they felt about me. I let them get into my head. I let them affect me in areas that I shouldn't have, I shouldn't have let them. It's taken me a long time. It's taken me years to kind of get past that, to the point that I just tell people, one or two things: you're either going to love me or you're going to hate me. There's no in between.
Done.
You can't decide today that you like me and tomorrow that you don't. You either love me or you hate me. And one way or another, I can deal with either of them. I it's not, I've learned I'm not going to cry over it. Is it going to hurt my feelings? Absolutely. If you hate me, but people hated Jesus too. They hated Jesus. And so, and that's just how I approach it anymore. You're either going to love me or you're going to hate me. And I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And I realize that too. So, but God is going to lead. He's going to lead us to the people that we need to help. He's going to lead me to women. He's going to lead me to coaching clients. He's going to lead me to the people that I can help, that I can make a difference in. And that's all that matters.
Exactly. And that's it. And that is something that me and her have talked about constantly when it comes to ministry. We talk Bible. We have our little girl talk too, but we talk ministry. And that is something that she can tell you about me is number one, I don't play well with others. I'll put it that way. I don't play well with others. And not that because I don't want to, but it's because I don't conform.
Exactly.
And and when people meet me, I'm not the, and this is something about her too, is I'm not the docile female that just falls, and just melts and collapses and easily pushed aside and easily being told, well, go do what the women do, blah, 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 blah. This is what the women do. I was called to the ministry. She was called to the ministry. And again, like her, I've had people who still to this day smile in my face and don't know that I know that they've stuck knives in my side, in my back, and all kinds of stuff. But it still doesn't stop the call. And that's what I don't think a lot of people understand. I'm not going to go along to get along. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to kiss up. Any of that type of stuff. I'm not going to kiss up. I'm not going to, skin and grin, as we say, just because you're a man in the ministry and I want you to acknowledge me as someone in the ministry. I don't care if you don't ever acknowledge me. It doesn't stop the call. And it doesn't remove the anointing that's on my life. And that's what I like about Melissa. And that's why we get along so well. Is because once God tells us to go, we go.
Yep. Yeah.
No matter what, you know what I'm saying? No matter what it is. If God tells us to go, we go. If people talk about us, we're like, oh, well, when we cry about it, we get in the inbox and we have our little tear.
you had mentioned earlier about when you came to Ohio, and just this is how much like she's mentioned several times about how connected we are. There was a women's conference I think it was in Atlanta, and anyways, that's another interview. But I will tell you, when she just said, like, when God calls, you just go. And I felt led. I knew God was telling me to go to this conference, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I went to my pastor and I'm like, hey, like I had just started my ministry. I'm like, I feel led to go to this conference, but I don't have the money to pay for the airline ticket. And he's like, okay. And so just so that we were clear, he did not pay for my airline ticket at all. And so we were having this conversation, and a really good friend of mine, she had heard me talking, to my pastor. And she pulled me aside later and she goes, I'll put it on my credit card, just pay me back later. And I did not know how I was getting down there. When I left like Ohio to fly down there, I didn't know where I was staying at. And so I just trusted God to say, you know, God's like, I knew God called me down there. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm going to go down there. If I have to sleep on the bench or sleep in the corner or wherever, but God provided. And it's like, when God calls you and you know that, you just go and just do it. Like, just do what he calls you to do, what he's leading you to do. He'll take care of it. And that's how you know it's God, because everything got taken care of. I got back home safe, you know, because I'm still here today. but you know, and it's like, how many times just throughout the last several years since, you know, we've known each other. And that's just how it is. That is just the whole heart and soul of the Hers girls, is that, you know, if you need help, if you need people to come to your conference, like she was doing a conference. I was flying back somewhere for work, I think. And you were doing a conference. And so you were like telling me about it. I was like, oh, I can swing through. So instead of flying home, I flew to where you were at. And it was in Virginia, and stayed in Virginia for a couple of days to go to a conference, and then went home to support what you were doing, because that was the first, very first Revive that you did. Remember?
Revive. I'm telling you, Melissa has been part of the first of everything. The self-care course that I'm getting ready to launch was actual Revive, a 2-day retreat. And I'm still going to keep doing those 2-day retreats. And so she was somewhere else, and she flew to Virginia on her way home. She flew there so she could be at this weekend retreat and this self-care conference that I did. And it was the first one.
Yeah. But that conference, I remember, like, we get there and, like, you know, I was the only white woman there. But that's besides the point. And we laugh and joke about it because it doesn't bother me at all whatsoever. Like, it honestly doesn't. But we laugh and joke. And I knew after that conference that God had connected us in it. Like you said, it was divine, because somebody had made the comment, is, why do your people always got to come to everything? It's my conference, not theirs. And you made it about, you know, and it wasn't about that. It was just about the support, you know. And that's the heart and soul of what the Hers Girls group is about. You know, that's what we do, is we support one another. You know, if somebody in the group has a conference, and if I can make it, I'll go. If I can't, I can't, but that's how we all are. And, you know, because we support each other. We're this little community of women that, you know, is going to support each other in everything that we do.
And that's just it. That's just what we do. And it was so funny, because while I was in Ohio, and it was me, her, and the other Hers girl, Kathy, and we were there, and we were in a restaurant, and we all did this whole like little Charlie's Angels move. And I still got the photos. I know, I still got it.
I do too.
And that's what the Hers Girls is about. It's like that. It's that type of connection. It's a support system, and it's a movement. It's a network. But that's what I tell people. But it's a network of women all over the world, because we have women in this Hers Girl all over the world, so that if someone is somewhere and they say, oh my gosh, you know, I'm here, I don't know where I'm going to stay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, the first thing I think about is, do we got a Hers Girl there? Because if we got a Hers Girl there in that area, you're good. Yeah, you're good. Exactly. Because and so far, that's how it's been. No matter where we've gone, there's a Hers Girl there. And it's like, man, my plane was doing crazy stuff, and they messed my plans all up. Now I don't have a hotel, and I don't have this. And they be like, well, got a couch. And we be like, boom. And we turn it into a whole thing. But that's what it's about. And again, and that's why I'm so grateful to be doing this interview and give her a do-over, because again, for those who are just tuning in, and thank you for our Twitter sponsors over there, but she was the first one to even do a coach to coach interview before we even had this. She just came on, and I was like, girl, come on, and we're gonna talk, and I'm gonna call this coach to coach. And that's how it started. Yeah, it started with a regular Facebook Live. She down for all my shenanigans. Okay, it was some shenanigans. She'd be like, okay, cool, you know. And that's how it is. And I'm the same way. When she was out here and she was in Anaheim for work, and I was like, "Where you at?" She's like, "Anaheim." That's like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. I packed me a little bag and went on up there, and she was at work, and I stayed at the hotel.
Yeah.
And that's just what we do. And then she took me to Disneyland so I can get my little Minnie Mouse ears, because that's all I ever wanted. And so it's that, y'all. And and we're saying all this stuff so people can understand what the hers thing is really about. And it's the same way with the men, with the blue side of the house. It's the same with those guys, which you will see more of those guys come on here and interview too in the new year. But we want people to understand when we talk about Thursdays or hers days, it's not just us saying something. It's actually us saying something because it's a network of real women who support one another because it's bad enough out there that we don't get the support that we really, really need. And so we had to create a support system. And so we did. And I try to invite those women into it that understand that sometimes it works, sometimes it don't, because sometimes, women have been, hurt, and hurt people. But for the most part, we still got that solid foundation, and I still got all the original hers girls that are there that God put there to create that solid foundation. The foundation will never go anywhere. It's been shaken, but it didn't go anywhere, and we're still going. And so what is something that you are looking forward to in the new year?
Oh, that's a good question, because I'm still like, I always try to start the new year with writing some goals. I started last year. God laid upon my heart to take a notebook and like write down 300 things that I was needing Him to do. About halfway through the year, like I didn't get to 300 because I'm like, God, I don't want to seem like, over like an overachiever, So I think I had like 120 or something like that. And so I started this notebook, and I would write down just different prayers, prayers about my kids, what I wanted to have happen in my life, in my career, with my businesses. And so about halfway through the year, like there was hardly any of them. Like I would highlight, like if God answered that prayer, I'd highlight it or mark it off. And, about halfway through the year, like June, July timeframe, I'm like, man, God, like none of these are answered, what am I doing wrong? And it just like, it's like He just kept telling me, just wait. And I'm like, okay, and I'm not saying like I can be patient, but, it just was difficult. All of a sudden it was like, I'm telling you, within just a few weeks time, God, I'm telling you, if it wasn't one, God answered like 25 of these prayers that I had, just in like a matter of like 3 or 4 weeks. And so I think for me for next year is that I'm still working on that. There's still some things that I'm expecting God to do, but, I know that I'm really excited because I know God is calling me more out toward the forefront for this next year. So you may be seeing me more on social media. I may be preaching more. I may be traveling more to speak. I'm open. I'm just like, God, here I am. Just send me wherever you want me to go. Because, like you said, is like, there is too many things that's happened in my life that God has covered me from, protected me from, answered prayers that I cannot not be thankful for. And I'll be honest, like I'm just excited for this next year for God just to use me in any way He needs to use me. So that's what I'm expecting for next year.
All right. Well, do you have something that you're working on that you can share that we need to get our hands on in the new year?
Yes. So we kind of talked about it earlier. So I will be releasing a prayer workshop here very, very soon. So there's just a couple things for my job that I need to kind of get through the beginning of the year. So I'll, focus on that, but you'll be seeing some things out here before too long, and just like a master class on just, prayer, and I'll get to kind of share my story a little bit more, and how I got to where I am, and how learning how to pray affected me and transformed my life. And I want to be able to kind of be that for other people to help them transform their lives as well. So you'll see that coming very soon. Plus, I've got, possible a couple other things happening too. So
I'm excited. I'm
I
excited. I'm
know.
excited. I'm super duper excited. And I am so thankful that you had the time to come on and to be interviewed properly with the fancy
Yes.
schmancy stuff. But I am so grateful, and I'm so blessed to have you a part of this crazy, wild journey
Mhm.
that I call my life. And,
Yes.
and man, I'm telling y'all, when God brought her in, the kooky crazy stuff was happening, and she was still right on right there. And she was like, "All right, let's ride." You know, when I say ride or die, that is her. And one of these days, we'll talk about that conference of how God connected in Atlanta. It was a hot mess.
It
Okay.
was. It was. Oh my goodness.
I would say we were both deceived, but God always uses what the enemy tries to do for bad, and God used it for our good, because that's how we end up meeting. We end up meeting there. Both of us got bamboozled, but it was all good. And so, because it was all God in the end, and here we are on the other side. And how many years later was that? That was what, in 2000 and what was that?
Oh my! I think it's like been like 9 or 10 years. It's
Like
been a
9,
while. It
yeah,
really has been.
like 10
Maybe
years.
longer.
It was
Oh
10 years.
goodness.
Yeah, because I wasn't even in the chaplaincy yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say
And I didn't come into the
it's been about
chaplaincy
that.
until 2015.
Yeah.
So it was
Okay.
like 12, 13, like
Yeah, I
13,
think it
14.
was. That sounds
Yeah,
about right.
2013.
13.
So
Yeah.
so we've been riding this thing out. We've been riding this
Mhm.
thing out for a long time, and we're gonna continue to ride it out, because there's more that God has in store for you. There's more that He has in store for us. And there's more shenanigans to be had. So as long as there's some shenanigans.
I love that part of it. That's always fun.
Well, I do. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for coming on and taking this time, and just thank you for being there, and thank you for believing in the hers thing before it was a thing, and sticking with me throughout it all, and being there when I really do need to talk to somebody personal, and I can take off all the Dr. K Bishop stuff, and I can be like, "Okay, girl," or she be in my inbox, say, "Hey, doll," and and so it's all of this stuff is off, and we can just be ourselves. And so I thank you for that. And is there anything that you want to leave with the people before we sign off?
I just think I just feel really led just to just encourage everyone right now that, if you're in a situation, or, like I had said earlier, if you're in a place in your life where you really feel like God's not hearing you and God's not seeing you, reach out. It doesn't have to be to me. It could be to Dr. Karen. Just make sure you connect with somebody. That was the catapult to kind of, what God had in store for me, is connecting me with her. And, but just reach out to someone, let us pray with you. Like I said, it doesn't have to be me. I'm not as what some people would say, a prayer hog. I don't have to pray for everybody, but
she's learned how to pray with her eyes open.
Yes,
loud.
yes, I have. Yes. I learned how to pray out loud too. But just and I think that's kind of where my heart is right now, is that if you're in a place to where you don't feel like you're seen or you're heard, just know that you are, and definitely reach out to one of us to pray with you. God has big plans in store. And we've heard many testimonies about how, God will cover us, when God's molding us into who, He's molding you into. And, you know, just reach out to us. I just feel that strong need right now that there's several people, you know, whether it's the replay or, you know, that you're on the live right now, that, you know, you're just at a place in your life where you just feel like you're not seen and heard. And I just want to encourage you today, because you really are. God has big plans, and it's just the beginning.
It is. And so we want to say thank you to Coach Melissa. Y'all follow her over at Refine Life Coaching LLC here on Facebook, on Instagram, Refine Publishing on Facebook, Instagram. Just type in Melissa Suttles. She's everywhere, y'all. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. She everywhere like me. She's all over the place. And so we love her and we thank God for her. And of course, all of her information is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. If you feel so led, tap her Cash App. It's down there. And we don't do this for that, but you know, sometimes God will drop a word on you and be like, let me hit that. So if God is telling you to do that. Other than that, don't worry about it. She's still being taken care of, because that's what we do. But I want to say thank you all for joining us tonight. And taking time out of your busy schedule on tonight to somebody said they still pray with their eyes closed. Oh my God, that was amazing. Oh, there's Chaplain Simon. Hello, sir. Hello. One of my chaplain friends that I met at the last training I went to. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. We thank you so much. And of course, Ambassador Tasneem, thank you, Your Excellency, for being on and connecting with us tonight. We thank you for that, ma'am. Who is also one of our international Hearst girls. So we do have the international Hearst girls on here in Pakistan, India, Afghanistan. We have them everywhere, Nigeria, all over the place. And so if you are somewhere and as she's saying, you feel like you're not seen and not heard, reach out to one of us. And again, and if we're not in your area, let us know where you are. And I promise you, we probably got a Hearst girl there that we can lead you to. Okay. And so we thank y'all. And I thank y'all for always rocking and rolling with me. If you catch me by replay, thank you so much. And we'll see y'all in the new year for our next Coach to Coach. But this has been Dr. Karen Lomax and Coach Melissa Suttles for this year's end of the year 2023 Coach to Coach. We love y'all. Thank you. And y'all, listen, have a blessed rest of your night. Y'all go and hug somebody. Go and encourage somebody. All right. Just encourage somebody, even if it's just yourself, but encourage somebody. We love y'all. Bye, everybody.
Right. Bye.